It was a cold, foggy evening in the small town of Blackwood. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the distant ticking of the old clock tower. Detective Henry Grayson sat in his dimly lit office, sipping on a cup of coffee. The room was filled with the smell of old books and dust. Grayson was known for his sharp mind and his ability to solve the most complicated cases. But tonight, he was bored. There hadn't been a single interesting case in weeks. Just as he was about to call it a night, there was a knock on the door. A young woman, dressed in a black coat, stepped inside. Her face was pale, and her hands were trembling. She looked around nervously before speaking. "Detective Grayson, I need your help," she said in a shaky voice. "My name is Clara Bennett. My father, Mr. Edward Bennett, was found dead in his study last night. The police say it was a heart attack, but I know it wasn't. My father was healthy. Someone killed him, and I need you to find out who." Grayson leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Tell me everything," he said. Clara explained that her father was a wealthy businessman who lived in a large mansion on the outskirts of town. He was a quiet man who kept to himself, but he had many enemies in the business world. Last night, he had been working in his study when Clara heard a loud noise. She rushed to the study and found her father lying on the floor, lifeless. The police arrived quickly and declared it a natural death, but Clara was sure there was more to it. Grayson agreed to take the case. The next morning, he arrived at the Bennett mansion. The house was grand, but had a eerie feel to it. The butler led him to the study, where Mr. Bennett's body had been found. The room was untouched since the night of the death. Grayson began his investigation. He noticed a small piece of paper on the desk. It was a note, written in messy handwriting. It read, "Meet me at midnight. Come alone. A friend." Grayson's eyes narrowed. This was no ordinary note. It seemed like someone had lured Mr. Bennett into a trap. He searched the room further and found a hidden drawer in the desk. Inside was a stack of letters. They were all from different people, threatening Mr. Bennett. One letter stood out. It was from a man named Victor Lane, a former business partner of Mr. Bennett. The letter was filled with anger and threats. Grayson decided to pay Victor Lane a visit. Victor Lane lived in a small apartment in the town. When Grayson arrived, Lane was surprised to see him. Grayson showed him the letter and asked about his relationship with Mr. Bennett. Lane admitted that they had a falling out over a business deal, but he denied any involvement in Bennett's death. "I may have been angry, but I would never kill him," Lane said. "Besides, I have an alibi. I was at the tavern last night, and there are plenty of witnesses who can confirm that." Grayson left Lane's apartment, feeling frustrated. He decided to return to the mansion and look for more clues. As he walked through the study again, he noticed something strange. The clock on the wall was stopped at exactly midnight. Grayson remembered the note, "Meet me at midnight." He wondered if the clock had been tampered with. He examined the clock closely and found a small key hidden behind it. The key fit into a locked drawer in the desk. Inside the drawer was another note. This one read, "The truth lies in the music." Grayson was puzzled. What did that mean? He looked around the room and noticed a piano in the corner. He walked over to it and opened the lid. Inside, he found a sheet of music with strange symbols written on it. It looked like a code. It took him hours, but Grayson finally cracked the code. The symbols corresponded to letters, and when he translated them, the message was clear: "The butler knows." Grayson's heart raced. He called the police and had the butler arrested. Under questioning, the butler confessed. He had been blackmailed by one of Mr. Bennett's enemies to let them into the house that night. The killer had written the note, luring Mr. Bennett to his death. The butler had stopped the clock at midnight to cover up the time of the murder. With the case solved, Grayson returned to his office. He couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Another mystery unraveled, thanks to his sharp mind and attention to detail. As he sat down with a fresh cup of coffee, He wondered what the next case would bring. But for now, the night was quiet, and the notes had finally stopped.